Coming to you from Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's Among Us game lobby, hashtag orange is sus. I'm RJ Balde, and this is the TRICHOMES Hash It Out podcast. On this show, we feature conversations about trending cannabis topics. We also bring in industry insiders and influencers to discuss their point of view. In this episode, I'll be talking to Josh Genderson about his mission through the cannabis company he founded to provide the best place to shop, work, and invest in the cannabis industry. Without further ado, it's time to hash it out. Today, I am joined by Josh Genderson, founder and CEO of Holistic Industries, a multi-state cannabis product manufacturer and retailer. Welcome to the show once again, Josh.
Thanks for having me, RJ. It's nice to chat with you and to be in front of your listeners. I'm excited.
No worries. And I say once again because we just had to do a little retake here because, again, we are using cloud services in this 2020 pandemic time. And you know what? The cloud can only handle so much before it starts precipitating. So you got to roll with the punches every now and again, right?
It's the new normal.
It's the new normal. That's right. Now, where are you joining us virtually from today?
I am in Washington, D.C. And specifically, I'm on Capitol Hill, about 50 yards from the Senate.
Wow. Okay. So you can hear all the shouting probably from where you're sitting.
It sounds like a lot of rumbling coming from that direction.
Man, what's the vibe like over there? I haven't had the opportunity yet in my life to visit the nation's capital. So what's the vibe like now? We're getting pretty close to November 3rd. So
we sure are. First and foremost, definitely add it to the bucket list. DC is an amazing city and changes and becomes a cooler and cooler place to live and visit. Currently, it's interesting. As you know, and all your listeners know, it's a pretty divisive time, and there's less open hostility on the Hill than you would think from watching the news. But it's you can feel some tension here for sure.
Well, that is good news to hear, though, that, in the nation's capital where the decisions are actually being made outside of the internet and Facebook timelines, that there is sort of less outward, venom for those who might disagree with someone else's viewpoint, because it would be easy for someone to sort of deduce based on the societal climate when it comes to the conversation on the leadership in this country that sort of translates into what actually is happening on Capitol Hill. So that's refreshing to hear in a way that there is less sort of outward venom, I guess.
Yeah, refreshing and slightly scary because it's happening. But
right.
DC is it's a very liberal city, and there it's a city that in ways is protected from economic downturns because the federal government spends more in a downturn, and so it keeps rolling, fingers crossed that there's a smooth election and a good outcome, and life starts to feel a little more normal.
Man, I got my fingers crossed. I got my toes crossed. I got it all crossed, man.
Likewise.
I'm doing the sign of the cross. I'm taking any help I could get.
Do it all. I will say, the crazy, sad, tumultuous year that has been 2020, certainly comes with silver linings, especially for the cannabis space. And, at the very least, it was a very reassuring year for the cannabis industry. And it was a year that really solidified the space as legitimate. And when lockdowns happened and when businesses were ordered to close, every state that Holistic operates in, which is 8 states in DC, cannabis was considered essential or life sustaining. And so I think it's very legitimizing, and people are feeling extra anxious and extra depressed, and PTSD and a lot of these things that are triggered in times like these, have tremendous success when treated with cannabis therapy. And so I think it's been great to continue to get patients and customers their medicine, and that's very rewarding.
Totally. And it is great to have the opportunity to be aligned in the cannabis industry in any facet during this time, because simply because of that, because not only was cannabis deemed essential, which has been everyone's favorite phrase, but it's sort of proven during this unprecedented time, which is everyone's second favorite phrase, that the cannabis industry, even in its infancy, I suppose, or even as there is still a lot of nebulousness in terms of the cannabis industry. It's still growing, it's still solidifying itself. It has proven, though, during this time that it is almost recession proof. Like if the cannabis industry can get through this, then what could possibly stand in its way?
Yeah, no, it's been very legitimizing, like I said, and there's some other ancillary benefits. There were, as states create programs, especially on the East Coast and in the Midwest, where it's newer. There are a lot of rules that are created with good intentions, but they're fairly arbitrary. And things like online ordering and curbside pickup and delivery, remote payment platforms, all those things that weren't allowed in the rules or the laws in a lot of these states were then permitted via emergency regulation or legislation during COVID, and it's been transformative. And the companies, and I'll include ours in that category, that have been able to pivot quickly and efficiently, and have been able to offer a great experience via those platforms, have really been able to see a lot of growth, and patients and customers have been able to, access cannabis just like they could something else.
Sure. And I think that, those that are in the cannabis industry in particular are sort of more adept to adapting to certain changes, or having to make sort of sweeping, adjustments or improvements in a relatively short period of time compared to other industries, simply because of the nature of the cannabis industry now. With regulations still being locked down, and every state having a different, program or different legislation based on, whatever's going on in their state. It puts people in this industry in a unique mindset in which, when crazy shit like this happens, it's like, okay, that's just another thing we have to deal with on this long list. Yeah.
No, for sure. It is a remarkably challenging space, especially when you operate in a lot of states. And somebody put it to me perfectly, and I don't remember who it was, but I was in a meeting, and they said the space moves at the speed of light in quicksand. And
I like that. Yeah.
It's very fitting.
Yeah, I like that. The speed of light in quicksand, because that's what it can feel like. It can sometimes feel like you're like running in place almost.
Yeah, it's such a high growth space, no pun intended, and Holistic's seen amazing quarter over quarter growth, and amazing regional growth and national growth, in such a short period of time, and every day is different, and it's a wild ride, but we have a great team, and everybody's so passionate and all in, and it's really it's the foundation of what makes us a great company.
Totally. Now, when did you found Holistic Industries? Was it in 2017 or was it later than that or earlier than that?
It was earlier.
Earlier than
I
that.
actually founded it in 2011.
Okay.
It's almost 10 years ago.
Nice.
And that was in Washington, D.C. And D.C. has one of the first programs in the country, actually, first ordinances. But there is there's a number of anomalies about Washington. And one of them is that Congress has oversight over our budget.
Mm.
It's called home rule, and it's a hot button topic here. But there was basically a blanket no from Congress for many years. And so in 2010, I was running my family's wine and spirits business. Mm-hmm. And I had always been interested in the cannabis space, and a fan of the plant, and a fan of all the things that cannabis can bring, and whether it's relief or jobs or opportunity. And so when I saw a window as Congress was flipping blue during the second half of Obama's first term, mm-hmm. and worked with the city, and we revamped the program, and there was an RFA, an application process for 7 grower processor licenses and 6 retail licenses. Mm-hmm. And we put 2 companies together, and worked really, really hard and put together a bunch of applications, and ended up winning 2 of the 7 grower processor licenses, which was really, really, really exciting. And so that was the start. And then, honed it and started focusing on treating children with epilepsy, and then treating brain tumor patients, and really kind of expanded the model, and then hit the road.
Got you. And here you are now, dealing with a pandemic.
Here we are now, and like I said, I vertically integrated in 8 states in DC, and at the about 500 employee mark, and growing every day.
Yeah, continuing to grow. I understand you're averaging is it like a 20% growth per quarter?
I think we're closer to like 28% quarter over.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So how does it feel? Do you ever feel like a weird sort of juxtaposition in thriving during a time where it's like a scary time like this?
Yes, right. Nobody, of course, you feel lucky.
Yeah, of course.
You work extra hard. There are a lot of, great feelings that come with it, because, while you have industries that have been really, really hit and hurt, cannabis is growing and providing and adding a lot of jobs and a lot of tax, money to these states. And totally. So we're able to, to target the, whether it's the entertainment industry or the travel industry, and there are a lot of really smart, great people that have been let go, and we've been able to scoop them up and integrate them.
Totally. So yeah, that's definitely a reason to be grateful, for sure. So as the CEO of Holistic Industries, you've made it your mission to make it the best place to work, shop, and invest in cannabis. I understand that you've put together what you call a dream team of experts, and now 500 plus staff members. In talking about each aspect of that, what makes Holistic Industries, in your mind, the best place to work if you're entering the cannabis industry? Sure.
It's probably gotten old if you are on the team, because I talk about that so much and make that such an integral part of our mindset. But you nailed it when you said best place to work, shop, and invest, and that's really the order. And it starts with being the best place to work. And if you don't know, or if you're listening and you run a business or work for a business that wants to be one of the best places to work, it takes a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard, and it's the bedrock of what makes us great, though. And so we spend a lot of time. I look at my role as hiring people that are smarter than I am, and giving them the tools they need and the encouragement to go kick ass.
That's awesome.
And so, being the best place to work, you really need to, you need to hire advocates that share in our values, that understand our products. You need to give people space to move and to learn and to try different things. You need to give them input and transparency and a voice. And then, I'm very proud of the fact that I think over 70% of our higher level roles are promotions from within. And so we spend a lot of time developing talent, creating bench strength, and moving people from local to regional to national.
That's so rad, man. That's awesome that you've been able to generate that sense of camaraderie, especially in, working in multiple states, because I feel like that can, that especially in the cannabis industry has to be its own challenge. Again, having to work with the regulations of each specific state. That must be a lot to keep track of.
It's a massive challenge. We have an amazing compliance team with an amazing compliance leader. And, she is just working nonstop to make sure that there is a culture of compliance. And, you can do everything right, but if you slip up on that front, it's not pretty.
Right.
So we stay on top of that. And then, I've been able to bring in a lot of incredible people since we started, many of whom I pinch myself, I should be working for them. But people that have amazing breadth and depth of experience in their space, whether it's marketing or finance or law, operations, you name it, and they've all come to Holistic, understanding and seeing the vision, sharing the vision, and they bring that experience. Whether it's our CFO, who is the CFO of a public company for many, many years, or our chief marketing officer, who is the CEO of a huge pharma ad company for many years. They bring that experience, but they also bring a passionate advocate's mindset towards cannabis.
Totally. And it's that passionate advocating mindset, I think, that really filters out in the cannabis industry the real people from those who kind of just, I guess, see it as an opportunity for profit.
Yes.
Like if you come in with that mindset, you might find yourself growing at a fast pace, but your potential for like a awful sort of crash or run in with reality once people find out that your heart's not really in the spot is, it's a much higher place to fall down from. And I feel like in the cannabis industry, people will weed you out, no pun intended, sooner or later if you don't have that passion.
Absolutely. It's a nice way of putting it. I like to say that we're an operator and not an aggregator. And at the level we are, there aren't that many companies that are the size and scale of as Holistic, and a lot of them are financial engineers that saw a widget and a ground floor opportunity, and came barreling in, and instead of winning merit-based licenses like we have and then getting them operated, they bought the licenses and tried to jam cultures together. And it is apparent, right, when it gets to the end user patient, the companies that care. No great company was ever created by someone who wasn't passionate about that product.
Right. Totally. Totally. Now, I understand that you mentioned this briefly just a second ago, too. I understand that you're a fourth generation wine retailer.
Yeah. Yes. Fourth
Wow.
generation. So my great grandfather and my grandfather, who is 101 years old and healthy and sharp as a tack.
Yo, awesome.
Yeah, they started a company in DC called Schneider's Liquor Company.
Uh-huh.
That my dad and uncle took over, and then I took over, and it's an amazing business. It's a real staple in DC, and there's a lot of parallels, and I say this to a lot of people. The wine space, the spirit space, especially Schneider's, because Schneider's crosses all the tiers. So it's an importer, distributor, and a retailer. There's a lot of similarities to what an MSO, a vertically integrated MSO, does.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was good. It was good training.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you made the switch from wine to cannabis, can you tell me about how you have seen the value of quote unquote hugs versus haggling when it comes to the customer experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So I love that you use that term, and that's definitely a term we talk about a lot. Yeah, I learned a lot from my family and from my dad, and when it comes to sales, different people have different proclivity and different expectations out of what they want their sales experience, their shopping experience to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so some people love the interaction, and they love to learn, and they want to know, and both wine and cannabis and spirits, they have all these little differences and flavor profiles and feeling profiles. And so it's a really, it's a fascinating product on its own. And, and there are people that this is their hobby, right? And it's the same thing with wine collecting. And so, you want to be, you want to have that connection with every customer. You want that customer to know that they're special. And that's not some hokey bullshit line that I'm using. It's true, right? I mean, everybody that comes in to one of our stores is special. And so we want to offer, as much over the top service as possible without sort of being pushy.
Got you. And so that plays, I would imagine, a direct role in your mission in making Holistic the best place then to shop for cannabis for consumers.
Yeah, for sure. For me, being the best place to work creates people that are so passionate about what they're making, whether they're cultivating or they're processing. It makes people super passionate about what they're selling if they're working in one of the stores, or if they're wholesaling to third-party retailers. And so, it translates to the shopping experience. And, being the best place to shop, there are a number of different ways to get there. I think being the best place to work is number one for me.
Yeah.
But we're super focused on developing, our brands and our greenhouse of brands across many regions in the country. Mm-hmm. We are constantly launching new innovative brands. So we're launching a really cool brand in a couple weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is, this might be one of the first times I'm talking about it, but
okay. TRICHOMES exclusive here.
There you go. We are launching the Jerry Garcia cannabis brand.
No way.
Yeah, we entered into a deal with the Garcia family.
Whoa! Wow.
Last year, and have worked really hard and spent a lot of time creating what I think and know will be the best celebrity brand in the space for sure.
No way. That is awesome, man.
Yeah, it's really exciting. As a fan, it's the coolest thing I could imagine.
Yeah.
There are when it comes to celebrity brands, I think there's there are a couple mindsets, right? A lot of people think it's hokey, and I think a lot of them have not been properly rolled out.
Sure.
When we look at it as like there's a Mount Rushmore of weed, right? That should exist, and if it did, it would probably have Willie Nelson on it. It would probably have Bob Marley on it. It would probably have Snoop Dogg on it, and it would probably have Jerry Garcia on it.
Yeah, for sure.
And the first three, have done it and created a brand and to varying degrees of success. And we got to watch and see what they did right and what they did wrong. And being an operator gives us a lot of control, from seed to sale, and so we can make sure it's the best quality. It's in line with the person, right? And his image and his aura, and Jerry fans run the gambit, right? From bankers and venture capitalists to college kids to farmers, you name it.
Yeah, no doubt. That's so awesome. So, you're operating in multiple states. So, where can our listeners find holistic industry stores and your products in the various states? And where will that brand initially launch? Will that be available everywhere where you sell your products, or in like specific regions starting out?
Yeah, so right now you can find our products. So our retail brand is called Liberty
Mm-hmm.
Cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
And that name came about because we really believe we're liberating the cannabis experience.
I love that.
So you can find Liberty stores in DC, in Philadelphia, in Pittsburgh, in Boston, in Springfield, in Western Massachusetts, in LA, in San Francisco, in Ann Arbor, Detroit.
Hey, represent Detroit.
Yeah. You're a Detroiter, huh?
Yeah. I'm originally from Michigan, from the Metro Detroit area. I lived there up until I was 20. I lived there, so yeah, I was born and raised there.
All right, yeah, we have a store in Corktown.
Nice.
We have a store in Ann Arbor, and we're building an incredible vertical facility, a big grow process facility, and then a big retail store in Madison Heights, which is
Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah, so big high traffic area. It'll really be one of a kind, and so you can find our products in any one of those states. You can find our stores. The Garcia brand is going to launch in California.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll definitely be reading about it and seeing where you can find it. It'll launch in Cali in November, and then in Massachusetts in January, and then we will fill out the country.
Nice. That's so awesome, man. I'm stoked to hear that. That is so cool.
Thank you. Yeah, we're super pumped about it. It's a labor of love, and there's a lot of cool, exciting announcements coming out soon.
Yeah, right on. Okay, so keep your ears to the ground, man. There's more coming out. I understand that Holistic's retail approach through its, you mentioned through the brand Liberty Cannabis, is sort of continuing its regional strategy into 2021 with, I guess, operations or projects such as quote unquote more in Massachusetts or quote continued growth in California. So now that Missouri's licensed medical cannabis industry has just started this month, what is Holistic's plan for moving into Missouri?
So we continued our merit-based application win with some great local partners, and and won a bunch of licenses in Missouri, and we're in the middle of building out grow process facilities, and then we'll have retail Liberty stores in St. Louis and in Columbia, in Kansas City, and Rolla, and kind of rounding out the whole state. So you'll be able to find products all over Missouri, and we'll have a big grow process hub there as well.
That's awesome, man. How has your travel been affected? Because being a multi-state operator, do you usually have to travel a lot to different states to check out what's going on? And has that been affected this year with the year?
Definitely. So yes and yes. You got to be there. I'm a people person, and I think that connection's really important. And whether you're a wellness guide, or a bud tender, as it's normally called, or you're a trimmer, or you're the chief revenue officer. I think it's really important to be able to have access to talk to me and to talk to our C-suite and our VP suite. And so being in all of these states is really important.
Yeah.
I was on the road for many years, at least 2-3 days a week. And then that kind of stopped. And so, travel picked up a little bit over the last couple months. I mentioned to you earlier, I'm heading out to Cali next week. So that'll be the first cross-country trip. So it's, we're gradually learning, the safest ways to do things and getting back to as normal as possible.
Man, if you run into Jerry while you're out here, tell him I said, what's up?
I will for sure.
Right on. Now, correct me if I have these numbers wrong. But last time I checked, by the end of this year, by the end of 2020, you will have 20 dispensaries, 7 processing labs, and 7 cultivation centers under the Holistic Industries name. Are those numbers right, or are they more now?
That sounds correct to me.
Sounds about right?
That sounds about right. Yep.
So with both that in mind and how sort of volatile cannabis stocks often are on the market, in what ways does it make Holistic Industries the best place to invest in cannabis?
So, it's a great question. We have stayed private, right? And so, given the volatility of the market and the fact that, as a U.S. operator, we can't list in the U.S., you can only list in the Canadian market, which is different, right? It's not the U.S. market. It's less liquid. It's a great way for a lot of companies to get capitalized and get exposure. We have been really blessed to have a phenomenal investor base of loyal investors who are passionate about the company. And on the flip side, we've been really loyal to them and delivered right on the promises. And so, whether it was an equity raise that we did, 2 years ago now, or a debt raise that we completed a few months ago, we've been able to very clearly identify and outline the uses of the capital, and then hit it and get it done. And so, it's made it the best place to invest and given us the best group of investors in my mind. I think there will be a time and a place for a big liquidity event, whatever that is. And it could be going public, and it could be something different, but we're really happy being a private company that can think long-term as opposed to just quarter over quarter, and can be a little more strategic and a little more nimble. And, we have a long runway, the way that we're set up.
Gotcha. Yeah, that was going to be my next question is if the plan is to, for the foreseeable future, stay private, or if you had any plans on going public just yet. So nothing yet in terms of plans to go public. That's not on your radar so far, at least.
Correct. Yeah. We never say never to anything,
Of course.
especially in this space.
Mm-hmm.
But for right now, we're very, very, very focused, and I think focus is important in this space. There's a lot of squirrels to chase, and to your point earlier about some companies that just took on too much too fast. We're very cognizant of that and try to be good stewards of capital and really focused.
Gotcha. Now, I was, it was requested upon myself to ask this question. So this is on behalf of a friend. Are there any current investment opportunities for the average Joe with Holistic?
So not currently. Thankfully we have a really healthy balance sheet and are well capitalized and aren't raising any capital. And that's the one thing that I do miss. About sort of the concept of being public is that you can have anybody buy a share and be vested and really care. But
Sure.
as a private company, we're capitalized, and so it's one of those things where it's not not so easy to invest.
Totally. Well, I mean, it's a good place to be, right? If you're not in the position where you need to raise capital like that, that's a good thing.
It's a phenomenal place. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Again, like I said, we're very lucky. We have a great investor base.
Yeah.
And we work really hard to make sure that we always know where we're going to be the next year, and so cash flow is managed. And again, that's just such an important piece to the space, especially given all the tax burden and there's no ability for traditional financing.
Yeah, totally. Well, that's awesome, man. I'm so glad to hear that you are, thriving and surviving, like we mentioned before we were rolling here, man. I'm so glad to hear that you were doing so well, during this harrowing time. It's always, it's always good for the psyche. It's good for the mental health to listen to stories and to pay attention to stories that differentiate from what we constantly see in the news in terms of current events. So it's always uplifting to get to talk to people like yourself who are doing well and using your passion to do well and to reach the success and to make like we said, to make a place where not only you are thriving, but all of the people that are working for Holistic and all of the consumers that support Holistic have a safe place and a good place to work and to shop and to invest. Man, that's awesome.
I appreciate it. If you could see me, you'd see a smile on my face. And, yes, it is a major silver lining in this crazy world that we can provide great jobs and a great experience, and also bring up the communities that we operate in and give back, and that's just it's beyond the financial part. It's almost hard to put into words, but it's an amazing feeling to be able to do good, and and makes all the hard work really worth it.
Totally. Oh yeah. No doubt. I think the cannabis industry, as difficult as it is a space to navigate, sometimes it has to be one of the most fulfilling industries to work in, especially if you do have that passion that
absolutely.
you clearly exhibit.
Who would have thought, 10 years ago, right? That, my college self that,
right.
It would just be what store I'm going to go to in Rockville, Maryland. It's an unbelievable accomplishment, and
right.
to watch the toothpaste out of the tube is really exciting.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, if you would have told me 10 years ago that this would have been where I was sitting down talking to a CEO of a legal cannabis industry. You told me that 10 years ago. I'd be like, you're speaking about an alternate reality.
Yep.
I support it. But yeah, if you told me that 10 years ago, I probably would have found it pretty far-fetched. I understand. Yeah, and here we are, man. And here we are 10 years later, making it work. We are making it work out here. I know that you have to go. You had some work to do in just a bit. So I want to thank you so much, Josh, for taking the time to talk to me. But before we go, where can our listeners find out more about what you're up to and what Holistic is up to?
So definitely, on social media, on whichever your preferred platform is, libertycannabis.com, holisticindustries.com. And you can check out all of our house of brands and really get into the rabbit hole.
I dig it. I love falling down a good rabbit hole.
Who doesn't?
Well, yeah, who doesn't, right? Especially this year. We have all got some extra time on our hands to fall down a rabbit hole or two.
I was just going to say that it's a pleasure to get to chat with you. Really is. And I love listening to the show and an honor to be on. Yeah, man. We are so glad to have you. Stay safe. Travel safely once you're heading over here to the West Coast, man. And I hope the sunshine treats you well while you're out here. And yeah, I hope you continue to stay safe and be well. And thank you so much for joining me. I hope we get to talk again sometime soon. For sure. I appreciate it. And you do the same. My thanks again to Josh Genderson for joining me. If you are a member of the cannabis community and have a story you want to share with us, we would love to hear from you. You can reach the show at hashitout@TRICHOMES.com. You can help others find the show by taking a moment to subscribe to the podcast and write a review. You can also join the discussion with industry insiders and get your voice heard by joining the community at TRICHOMES.com and following us on all social media. Hash It Out is produced by David Fortin and presented by TRICHOMES.com. I'm RJ Balde. Thanks for listening.